Hey, it's Shabes, and welcome to another edition of AniTube Digest, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out every 2 weeks or so. Yeah, so I decided I'm gonna go with twice a month. I'm gonna go twice a month, so like halfway through the month I do a digest, and then in the month I do a digest, just to split the workload a little bit. Thankfully, there's not too many. It's a regular size digest for once. But I did try initially to do like recording them as I watched it, and it doesn't work. I don't like it. It's setting the whole thing up, watch the recording it, and set it in back, and I don't know. Doing that for every video was kind of obnoxious to me. So, and I like kind of being able to go to binge a bunch of videos. I'm just kind of used to that. So if I binge a bunch of videos, I may as well react in a binging kind of format. So yeah, we're gonna try this. We'll see it. But I did try it. So here's the first video. Here's one segment of that I recorded elsewhere. I just watched this Arcada video. This is like the first video I'm recording in this format. So let's see how this goes. Roasting my audience's favorite anime. Now I wasn't expecting this because I did see the poll that he put out. It was feedback about his channel, and I didn't watch it, but I didn't participate in the survey, but because I hadn't seen enough of his content to feel like I was gonna give good feedback. But he did also apparently ask what was their favorite anime, and he used those results to make this video roasting them. And it ended up being a little more like reflective, and I'm not constructive so much, because the thing is, right, he's not roasting individual people so much because all the answers were anonymous, although there's like, oh, 2 people voted for mysterious girlfriend X, and he kind of calls those 2 individuals out, so they'll so he is kind of roasting individuals, but it's okay. I'm not the biggest fan of this kind of form, like this premise so much, but I did like the majority of it was more like thoughtful and thinking about different trends and stuff, and also as it relates to his channel, because it's all from like his audience and people that are willing to participate in this kind of survey, that care enough about his channel to make this to participate, right? And it was a little fun thing where he has the audience guess of what the top 5 most voted answers were, and he's like, pause the video and figure it out, and I was like, gosh, I have no idea. And I came up with some stuff, and I ended up getting Evangelion right, but I put it's bad in hindsight, but the top 5 I was gonna do was some kind of Miyazaki movie. I don't know what it would be. Gurren Lagann, Evangelion, Hunter x Hunter, and FMA. And then the results from like the number 1 was Steins Gate, duh. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, duh. Evangelion, okay, at least I got that one. Bebop, duh. And Made in Abyss, which is nice. He was like, yeah, it's good to see, because that's my favorite anime and stuff. I'm like, okay, that's cool. But like, I just wanted to mention as well, first of all, he mentioned planets, and I don't know if I've heard this before or it just slipped my memory again, but this seems to be new information to me. I had no idea that Planets was the same author as Vinland Saga. I had no idea, man. That's crazy. That's really interesting. But anyway, the two points that he, like, right off the bat, really, he's like kind of roasting a few people in ways, and I don't know if he's really the strongest at it. I don't think, because I'm at least the kind of person that takes this kind of stuff seriously. Yeah, I'm like I'm not gonna be, it's not really a joking matter. I guess I'll be more like defending, I guess, defensive. That's the word, Shaves. Jeez. No, but he was mentioning LGH. It's in the top 25 at least. Like 17 people voted for it, and then he's like, one of you probably believes that. 11 of you are just saying that to look cool. And then he has the similar argument for One Piece and LGH, I think, where because it's 110 episodes, or for One Piece because it's 1,000 episodes, you feel obligated to put that as your favorite because you put so much time into it. Dude, no. I watched 365 episodes of Gintama, and do not in the slightest consider that one of my favorites. I did like and chosen that one season of that 13 episode chunk of Gintama 2011. Like I like that, but not so much. The length isn't necessarily a qualifier or a justification for that, in my opinion, at least. Although I would say it was a justification. I would maybe in part for Shippuden, if only because it is a technical achievement. I would say to have that long of a continuous story and it's completed in a finished way, with all the amount of animation, and not like just generally it's all animated, yeah, but like the specific episodes that stand out and just the adaptation process of it, and like having it come out as good as it did, I'd say is quite an achievement. And I gave it a great towards the end of it, just especially because I was like, yeah, I wasn't impressed with the first 30 something episodes of it, and then it gradually got better, even the filler stuff anyway. But it's like, yeah, I guess length could be like a fallacy, like a justification type of thing, but it's especially annoying when he talks about it about One Piece, because he's very adamant about you have to read the manga, like don't bother with the adaptation at all. And I'm probably going to make a video about this, or not about, I'll make a video about it's like a threat. No, but I'm probably going to make like I want to make multiple One Piece videos, obviously, because it has usurped LGH as my number 2 favorite, and that's not at all because of the length. It really, if anything, the length is a quality. It's not just like oh, I have to because it's that long. Like I don't know anyone that thinks that, and sure there might be people that do, but like I don't feel like that's a common sentiment. I don't know that many. I don't feel like that's a thing that I see that often. I feel like that just sounds really stupid, I think. I actually really love that it's 1,000 episodes, because this story and these characters are so fantastic, and I love being in this world, and this amount of comedy and the imaginativity, that how good One Piece is. Thank God there's 1,000 episodes. I say this every time. Thank God it's this long, because I love it. I want more of it. I wish fucking LGH was 1,000 episodes. Do I wish Joe was 1,000 episodes? I don't know if maybe, I don't know, but like, yeah, length is, I don't know. There's just a weird relationship he had with that, I think. But then also like, his whole thing about reading the manga, just read the manga and everything, it's just so you can catch up and know what's going on. Like it's an obligation. Like it's not something to enjoy. It's something that you need to be aware of and on top of, because it's such a big franchise and everything, and not because you love it, and not because it's actually really fun and remarkable. And I see maybe it's because YouTube knows me now, but like I'm starting to see a lot more videos come out about like people's first time watching One Piece, because they see other people being successful with that structure. Obviously it's like a video that I was like, oh, people are doing it, but also like you barely see that for other stuff. You may see that for Berserk, maybe, Naruto, I guess, but like very rarely is a media property like that treated in that way. And it's exciting when this person is going through this story and like, where are they, what arc are they on, type of thing. I feel like that's so singular to One Piece. It feels singular at this point. I don't know. I don't get as excited. I don't, maybe some people feel that way with other series and stuff, but it's especially potent with One Piece. And I wanted to mention that like the reading, this is a conspiracy theory on my end, and there's really not very little way to prove this, but I do want to make the case somehow at some point, that I don't think you become so addicted and fall so much in love with One Piece if you just read it. I think if you just read the manga, you'll probably be like, I see why it's popular. That's nice. That's good for you. Okay. Yeah. And like you appreciate it. You like it. You don't love it. You don't get like hooked. I think. The same way I think you would watching it. The anime in particular. And I do want to go into that a little more with the way the manga is laid out. I'm reading it now physically. I'm starting to collect it, and so I'm reading it. But then, with my experience of watching it, I already feel like I enjoy the anime a heck of a lot more, for reasons I want to go into, which I think will be interesting. But anyway, I feel like that nuance was completely lost on Tristan, but it's okay. I got it. You can't have nuance for everything. He's a reviewer. He's covering all of these different. He's more of a broad picture type of thing, so I get that. But not the most pleasant take on One Piece I've heard, to be honest with you. But yeah, just wanted to check that out, and it was all right. It definitely didn't turn out as like cringe as I was fearing it would be, I guess. And I decided that I'm not going to do a particular order, like order them in by length at this point, because I feel like the length kind of deems a certain kind of content, right? Like the shorter videos might be more a quick thing, obviously, but more AMVs and stuff like that. And then the longer ones are these big monsters and stuff. So I want to be able to kind of have it more even, kind of, all over the place. I'm fine with it. I'm not doing really the decent category anymore, because I feel like the decent and best is kind of blurred together. But I will put the ones that I have, like if I had it, like if this is a not good, I'll still have that section. There's nothing for that this week, but and I'll put the one that I thought was the best one at the end for people who like that. How to recognize a bad gag manga in one chapter. Kero Riripaddo is covering Ichigoki's Under Control, and I believe he just kind of goes over like a more summary of the 8 chapters that have come out. I think he does a little more summary. I really would have liked a little more of a closer dissection when it says like recognizing a bad manga in one chapter. I really think getting a closer idea of how the chapter introduces itself, like what is on the first page, what's the first joke, what is the first impression that it gives you, and why does Kero see that as kind of a weaker choice, kind of a bad foot forward type of thing. I think all the points he's making make sense or are fair, but I think that structure is what kind of was like a little bit of a letdown for me personally, I guess, because I like this idea conceptually. I did a similar kind of like with my Fukumoto video, like just focusing on the first chapter and going through it page by page pretty much. Maybe there really wasn't much to that first chapter that he couldn't necessarily do that, which would have been fair. I think he describes it. He does a kind of plot summary thing, which is kind of what there's a number of plot summary videos in this digest, oddly. But, that's fair. And there was a couple things with the visuals. Again, I ultimately still like his style with like cutting between doing the manga panels and the way he shows manga panels with the various panning and zooming and stuff, with his with cutting in with his face recording. I think that's a good balance still. I would just think that like there was a few moments, it felt like at least, where he was citing a very particular moment and he's not showing that particular moment on screen, or at least it didn't feel like what he was saying was correlating with what was on screen. And I get it, that's hard. I get that, like that's like the part of the reason it takes me so long with some of these things, because I write something and then like, shit, what do I put here? Because I'm always like really anal about that sort of thing. I'm trying not to be so much, because there's obviously some things where you can't help it and he's talking more generally. I'm not saying you really need to be hyper specific of everything. There's just certain moments it felt like maybe holding on to a certain panel in a way. And I guess it's just the way with the manga panning and sliding and everything. There's a lot of it, it's just tough with me, where it's like I really want like I want to see the full image. It feels like you're kind of, sometimes the manga is so up close because it's trying to take up the whole screen that it feels like you're missing context, or at least for me it does. It feels like I'm kind of seeing this like through like really close tight blinders or something, and I'm not allowed to kind of appreciate the whole page, let my eyes wander a lot. Because I feel like that happens when I read manga, at least for me. I'm obviously reading it panel to panel, but sometimes I'm looking back at other panels, I'm looking ahead a little bit. I think the authors realize that when you open the page, you kind of see both things at a quick glance, and it's like, all right, let me start from this corner and go that way, right? And sometimes you're seeing two panels really closer together, like Fujimoto does that a lot. So I feel like that maybe there's something that you can do with, instead of having the whole page being completely taking up the whole screen, maybe having it that the screen is small, like maybe doing a 4:3 aspect ratio. If or a 1x1 or something. I don't know about maybe. If anything, that way you can actually have you can take up the whole screen without it being like, oh, it's so much because of a 16:9 aspect ratio. Like I get I get how that is. Another thing, but yeah, I don't, or like a background or something. I don't know. This just is food for thought, I think. I think this could have been a bit better. I do think that, but like, I think ultimately I agree with all the point. It like makes sense with the points that you're making, and it was followable and stuff like that. I think it made sense in that way. Sashiburi talking about a Nuxtaku video. This is on his second channel, Nuxanor. Which, I get that with his main channel, he's shifted his audience and he's shifted his focus a lot. And I think I talked about him in a previous in a couple digests ago with his interview with the showrunner for One Piece, which was, I believe, was on his main channel. I could be wrong. But this one is an actual kind of like back to his roots kind of analysis. It's giving his take on Luffy's Gear 5 power up. I like all his points, and I think you can tell that he is not just kind of this surface level reader, and he's been reading it for a while and he's reading it closely. He's referencing a lot of things from prior on One Piece. I like that he is citing very like specific gripes like people have, like he shows Reddit posts and Twitter things of people actively complaining. I feel like that's what's always frustrating with me whenever I try to make these claims, is that when I go out to find these things, it's hard for me to find, I guess. It's hard to like grasp real life, like, yeah, people are saying this, or people do have problems with this, or say that it's like an ass pull or whatever, or it's like there's less tension or whatever. It's the whole shonen discourse thing, the whole forced, and I don't know, it's a whole, I'm really sick of the way that we talk about these stories, particularly shonen. For some reason, shonen just gets this like, it needs to have this more elevated like discussion, like we really have to take this seriously, guys. Like, no, it's a story like anything else, right? No, but I think Nux had a good approach with this, and he's well read on the series, and he's very like level-headed with it as well. I just like his more casual approach here. He's not like really trying to, you're an idiot, or he's not like bashing the people making these contradictory these opinions he disagrees with. He's like, I think they did a pretty good job, and it's calm, and it's for a Nuxtaku video. And yeah, I'd say that like my one thing about it is I think he does have a good style now with the virtual avatar, as opposed to his in the long history of never showing his face, right? He's probably gone through a lot of different video styles. I'm the same way. For the most of my main channel videos, I'm not showing my face, so there is an occasional challenge sometimes. It's like, what do I physically show here in such a way? I felt like the background, and I get with One Piece, this is probably a bit a long-standing issue, or a long-standing like trope of One Piece videos, is that like it's the same couple of clips from the same episodes, and I'm not like looking for the most like elaborate anything, and obviously Gear 5 hasn't been animated yet. I know you're not showing any of that. I know you have a couple of manga pages, although it's like, there's some from the latest chapters, not even just from his first 2 chapters of Gear 5 that you could have also shown, I think. It didn't feel like there was as much. I know there's not as much visuals to show. It's not like Gear 4 or something, which has been around for years. I get it. But I felt like you were using a lot of clips from Skypiea. And I know you're talking about when he talks about the various, everything that's on screen is relevant when he is talking about a particular thing. But when it's not, it's like just kind of general B-roll B footage. That's what I'm trying to say, really. It just feels, and I imagine a lot of One Piece videos fall into this. That's like, what do I show here? Because it's just big fucking, and they don't want to download every episode. I totally get that. And I'm certainly going to probably be running into that same issue when I start talking about the series proper in videos as well, which I intend to. I intend to. So I mean, they're just, I like that he's on screen the entire time. I think that's the main consistent visual that I think works. But just the background stuff, it's just like, okay. It's not the most like engaging thing in terms of like an experience as a video, but I get that, and I think that's fair. I also feel that with like, if this is just like a side, if Nex is also doing a lot of other projects, and I like that. Again, I like that his focus has ended up being a lot more collaborative and more conceptual of a video, and experience based. So a lot of his videos are more fun nowadays, are a lot more fun as visual experiences than perhaps his videos used to be, when he's just talking about this sort of stuff. Not to paint big broad swaths of your content, Nux. I'm just spitballing my impressions of it, of what I've experienced. But yeah, I think this is a good video. I think this is fair, and yeah, enjoyed it. Right, Lextorias. I think I may have mispronounced his name earlier. Last time he was on this on Digest, I was tore into him a little with his fan service video. I was really peeved with that one. And here he's back with another anime video. I think he may have done another anime video, and I was like, not again. But this one, interested. I used a randomizer to help me watch obscure anime, because I wanted to see how he would talk about concretely any random thing, and what would he talk about, right? And what is his larger audience going to be experiencing through him, perhaps for the first time, because 2 of these titles at least probably have had little to no coverage. They are very, very, very obscure, like, actually, and one of them isn't, and it was a surprise. And the first 2, it was kind of what I was expecting, where he gets it, he rolls it, and he does go with the one that he that shows up and commits to it, which is fair. I think there's certain things where it's like within reason. Like, he landed on a the first one he lands on is an OVA, like an ONA, probably what was like came with the bundle came bundled with the DVD or something, like an extra. And they're just like 5 1-minute episode fan service dream, wet dream sequences, and it's a spin-off of Ease, which is that Video Girl I believe is the author. It looks like his art style. And Shonen Jump Ease, yeah, like I''S. But he ends up watching the whole the show itself. I think he was only 6 episodes, so he's like, yeah, sure. Considering this other one was only literally 5 minutes, which is fair, and very substanceless. But then, yeah, goes on to just kind of the bulk of the video of him talking about it is just describing the whole thing. And look, when I say he only reacted to 3 anime, and this video is nearly 37 minutes long. It's sort of like, I feel like you could have covered a heck of a lot more anime in that time. And I get that it was probably sort of like he doesn't have that much time to watch all this. And I get if it's like he doesn't want to watch a full 50 episode show. I get that, or whatever. Maybe he had it. I don't know if he necessarily mentions it, but maybe he had it on a setting that like set it to just one installment things, like movies, OVAs, specials, and stuff. I don't know. Because it was very interesting that all 3 of them were standalone movies, and I was like, did he set that up that way? Because he uses a particular website, some Mal thing, and yeah, but like, yeah, for all 3 of the entries, he just kind of summarizes it for the most part, and I don't get much out of that personally. I mean, maybe some people with like, you've never heard of it or are interested, maybe, but it's also just like, it would be okay if he summarizes it, if it was a good summary, right? If it was like kind of entertaining in some way. And I think like Bennett, some of his videos were entertaining in that way, when the bulk of his videos were summarizing the entire plot and just kind of riffing on it, throwing popcorn at it. I think, for as disingenuous and annoying I've thought those videos have become, I used to like them. I used to thought they were pretty entertaining, and they are to a lot of people. I just don't know if Lextorias is all that great at it necessarily. I think he ends up being fairly insightful when he is talking about this stuff, even though A lot of his points may be more like broad sweeping. I didn't take any notes this time. It didn't irk me that much. I didn't want to do it again. Not again. um but like I actually, probably would have thought this was a wash, and probably would have like not talked about it if the third entry, I forgot what the second one was. I think it was like a one episode pilot kind of like advertised tease thing for visual novel game. He said how convoluted the media mix was of this particular entry, but I forget what the name of it was. And he didn't really describe it that much and dwell in it that long. But the third entry was fucking Adolescence of Utna. And I paused the video and I'm like, okay, this could go really well or really poorly. Like, please, you have a chance to really pick this up. Like, I could like this video if you just, obviously, like, he doesn't have to like the movie for it to still be a good video. But you know me, I would much prefer that he does like it. Like, I don't want to have him like complaining and like being all baffled and confused. Don't get me wrong, he was still very baffled and confused. But at the very least, like, he's very transparent of like, yeah, I had to use Wikipedia to describe the plot of this movie because I couldn't do it myself. And then the credits are playing after he's described the whole movie. Yeah, he just describes the Utna movie, the Adolescence of Utna, which, if you can imagine a task like that, is pretty funny. Having to do that, right? And then he's having the credits playing, and you see his reaction. He's splicing his on the couch discussion of it, and it's usually his talking of the movie, with his initial reaction to it, like in a reaction camera on the screen in a corner and whatever. And the credits are playing. He's like, I don't know what the fuck happened, but I liked it. It was, yeah, that was great. That was really impressive, and he actually liked the movie. Thank God. You see, that's one of my favorite anime. Love that movie. So I was like, boy, he better like. But then it's like, I feel bad for the people who might like Ease or whatever that OVA is. Again, I no idea what it, I don't think I've heard of it. I'm sorry, I don't have the name in front of me, but fans of those other ones, it's tough luck, because you probably don't get any coverage of this on. Would fan of Ease really have found this video anyway? Probably not. So probably not much harm done anyway. I'm not saying that any of this would be harmful in any way. It's just him reviewing this show or whatever. But I can imagine, like, if it's a series that very few people have heard of, and suddenly this big YouTuber talks about it, and it gets a lot of attention, that YouTuber has a responsibility. It ends up kind of, whether they want that responsibility or not, with great power. Like, sorry, when you blast this new thing to a wider audience, you expose it to a wider audience, it's your responsibility to put it in the most correct, not correct is, I guess, the word for it, because it's more like, you don't want to be disingenuous about it, and you don't want to color it in a way that like might give people the wrong impression, because that's happened with Ben a number of times, where he's talked about a series, he's like the first person to have talked about it on YouTube, and he totally gets it wrong, and he totally like skews it in a way that like people are going to just dismiss it and think these misconceptions about it, when that he's missing the broader picture. And it's up to other YouTubers, probably usually smaller ones that aren't going to get that reach, most likely, to having to patch and mend that, whatever little they can do, of course. I get we're talking not the most macro picture, right? It's not like, you have at the very least, I'm happy that, like, for the most part, from my knowledge, that Gigic and Joey, not so much Connor, because Connor's rarely talked about anime. For what little Connor has talked about, I don't remember him doing this, where it's like they really pick on this like very obscure show and completely tear it apart. I think for the most part they've kept to like more mainstream stuff, which is good, and people can have a whole wath of opinions of that, right. But there is that thing, right? And it's like you'd want to hopefully put it in a way that, like, I would hope in a more uplifting and positive light. If it's not good, unless you have to talk about it, unless there's a certain condition in Lextorias's case, randomizer, just that's just what happened to be put up, and he has to be honest about it, and that's fine, But just a tangent and aside there. I thought this was a good format. I think other people have done this sort of thing before. Certainly, Anime Everyday has done it years ago. I think other people probably have, I imagine, and it's fun. I would say the real major thing I would want is that you talk about more shows, or at least ship more shows in a less amount of time. Like, if you're going to spend 37 minutes on a video, don't spend so much time and effort like recounting the story and writing all that down, and then he does this, and then he like, it's like you're watching it so you don't. It's like Nostalgia Critic. That's literally what Nostalgia Critic does. Do you really want to? And look, I'm a fan of Doug. I watched his videos a long time, but like, I feel like we're past that. I feel like we're a little bit past that point. And with this randomizer thing and the format you have here, and people seem to have an appetite for this. People seem to like it. You asked if people were interested in more. I think you could do more of this, but maybe do a little more rapid fire. Maybe do a little more like, I check out this show. It has this and this and this. And this was weird for this and this and this. So here's a clip in it. And then just move on. Maybe like take 2 minutes or something. I think that you have like a whole pack of that. That'd be really cool. In rapid fire. And that way also people don't take your opinion. Like, if you have an impression that's negative or something, then it's like, look, I didn't think that much about it. It's not that deep, bro. You can at least have that. But when you talk about ease for so long, it's like, you could have put that effort also into looking into the manga. I know you didn't read the manga, but it's sort of like, if you're going out of your way to describe the entire plot, you could be using that energy elsewhere and that time, right? That's just my thoughts about that, I think. Yeah, I like the format, though. It was cool. It was good that I probably would have been less generous if you didn't like adolescents. Yeah, but yeah. Keksi, I don't know what you do with these videos, dude. I'm not in the know. I'm not in the joke. I'm not up to date. I don't think I've watched all of your videos because it feels like you may probably have made a similar video to this. I'm not up with the lore. I swear. What? So, Goodbye Forever, and I believe he's committing to not doing I guess he tried to do YouTube full time for a year, and then now he's not doing that. But I don't know if that's a joke. Is that real? I think some people are like, oh, it's a Keksi video. Okay, it's not really Goodbye Forever. But I don't know for sure, like how much of this is a message and how. But I like it's just sort of your kind of knee-jerk reaction and experience with doing YouTube, I guess, and the mortal dread of like, oh, I forgot to put a squid joke in this video, or all these people making these comments sounding like I'm on HRT, and all this sort of stuff. I really want to talk about this video only because of the sheer amount of creativity going into the physical shoot of this. Like, he got a new camera and the shots are so close and like experimental and interesting, and yeah, like I just love physically watching this video. I feel like no other. I think the close, there's some YouTubers who are obviously doing some live action stuff, but like all of it feels very meditated and like particular and coordinated. Not that this doesn't feel coordinated, it just feels a lot crazier. It just feels a lot more wild and constantly doing stuff and moving, and yeah, it's really interesting. I just really enjoyed the physical experience of this video. It feels very disorienting, and your humor is really great, and I relate to a lot of your YouTube struggles and stuff. But yeah, it's sort of what, that sort of thing. And look, nothing wrong with that. It's a fun vibe. But I hope it doesn't. I hope you weren't really looking for like, I hope people understand me. Wow, I hope that my message really resonates and gets through to people. I mean, I don't know if it did for me. I don't I don't know what I was supposed to get, especially because so much of this feels ironic or I look, I'll like I say this all this is one of my tropes. It's like Zoro getting lost is like his like character flaw trope. I don't detect sarcasm pretty much at all. I'm really I don't know if blunt's the word. I just take stuff. I try to take stuff as seriously as possible because I don't want to be in the situation, and my mind just kind of tricks myself into this where it's like, it just doesn't want to assume that you're joking. I don't want to assume, but then I'm sort of. But here I'm just like, I think he's joking. I don't know, and I don't. I just don't know what to believe, and that's it. That's okay. You don't have to. It's don't worry about it. Yeah. Just a thing. And I'm sorry if there's a significant amount of sincere expression in this. I'm sure there is. There has to be in order for the amount that you're doing for this, and also your recollections of I had this whole I planned this whole shot for redid it over and over, and then I didn't like it at the end, so I scrapped it, and that's why it's taken me a month and all that sort of thing. I get that. God, I know that feel, but yeah, I think it's just fun for kind of a like a really entertaining kind of visceral, and YouTubery kind of video too. Just like the fact that this is what YouTube is capable of is the stuff that I like about YouTube, and I keep hope I hope you keep doing this. I don't know. Yeah, I think a word salad. I really enjoyed the video though. Yeah, looking forward to whatever else you got. Bro, animebackwhen is swinging, dude. Oh man, I just really something I'm constantly appreciating with Rekka is he is so unabashedly trying a bunch of stuff, still kind of reiterating on a similar ideas like let me try this but this, and let me like refine it here and refine it. This is really nice. I would not mind if you stuck on this style of video for a while. I think this was like really strong actually. Unscripted, I thought you did a pretty good job being unscripted. I don't know how many of your other videos have been unscripted before, but I like that you're clarifying that because it kind of sets the audience expectations. For me at least it does. For me. And then the actual like I think you got a new I don't know if you got a new camera, but the actual kind of depth focus going on and your fit and the fact that you kind of have your whole face obscured with both the glasses and the mic completely obscuring your face, I think it's just really cool. I just think it's sick actually. Like I love that visual. And then I also really liked, I don't know if you've done this in other videos, I apologize if you have, and this is my first time noticing it, with the anime footage, it was the 4x3 and then you have like this, it's the footage behind it, but it's really expanded and it's a different color, but it's still synced that same way. So it's like when the footage in the picture moves, the rest of it moves, but it moves in such a way that kind of feels more like a color gradient. It's just really interesting and neat. I like the color palette in general too. Everything just feels really clean, and enjoyable as that like moment to moment enjoying a video basis. I still and I can't necessarily knock it one way or the other because again I think it's because it's unscripted. I don't know, but like going through each of the Ixers was good, and I think you sell them fairly well. There just wasn't a lot that I was able to stick with as an idea that like I was listening to your train of thought in a cohesive way. I don't think it was incohesive. I didn't think like, oh, I can't follow this. It wasn't like that. It just wasn't something that like I'm locked in. I'm hanging on every word type of script, I guess. And again, it's not a script, so I get that. I get that. It's probably it's not easy, and I don't know how close it is with Digest the same way, right? I don't know how followable my rantings are. I get that. But like, yeah, I just think that everything feels very polished and like you have it down, you have an idea and it's down pat. I just really like it. I like it kind of. I do remember one thing that did catch my attention material wise was when like you're moving on to Ixer 2 and then you realize, oh, I completely forgot the main character, the first one, and then you kind of go back and explain that to give the context of the second one. I thought that was pretty exciting. It's kind of that it shows that it's a more raw, unfiltered type of discussion, and more of a kind of a really casual recommendation in a way. And I think that's really cool. Yeah, I enjoyed this a lot, man. And I'd hope that this format is appealing to you and replicable in a way that's intriguing. And yeah, I like that. And but the thing with the not a whole being able to follow, two things about it is just that, like, I'm sure that can get better over time the more you do it, or just you have a particular thing in mind and you really stick on that thing. Not that you don't in this video, it's just something that then also I connect with. I don't know. And it's a personal thing. Obviously, plenty of people probably don't have that problem. But then two, it's really not as much of a problem because, again, I really feel like the aesthetics here, the reason I brought them up at the beginning and why I'm so enthused about them is because that really hooked me and kept me engaged with the video. Even again on just that moment to moment basis, I'm just experiencing these really cool visuals with not just the ones that you're adding, but the anime itself, really, and your clip selection of those. Talking about the time and place and stuff and your cadence and everything. I just feel like it's a really chill, entertaining video. Yeah, I really enjoy this stuff. Keep up the good work. Yeah. This might be the first time I'm talking about SailorGuardianHope. And she's talking about the Hello Kitty cartoon TikTok is obsessed with. And look, this is my niche. This is it, where it's like very obscure anime that is suddenly getting a lot of traction on TikTok. Really interesting. And this has happened a couple of times so far, and I'm looking forward to it when it happens more often, I guess. But I like that SailorGuardianHope is kind of taking that experience, and she's also kind of making this as more of a casual, shorter video of hers, because she's typically been doing these very big, deep dive catalog databasey type of videos. And I haven't been, I don't know if I've checked any of them out or I've tried them or whatever, but not a lot of them have stuck with me. Or maybe this really is my first video of hers, because this one really enchanted me. I love her setup. I love just like the backgrounds and stuff, the aesthetic of the video, the iCat like commercial breaks that she chooses in the middle of in the video, and her avatar and all of that stuff matching with her delivery and cadence and like performance in this video, along with all the very online, like you can tell she uses TikTok a lot. There's a particular editing style, and I remember Marion B doing this a lot, and I've been seeing it happen with these compilations of Barbie movies. I grew up with the Hasbro Barbie stuff, those Barbie movies like Swan Lake and stuff like that. I watched a lot of those multiple times for whatever reason. Couldn't tell you. Just what was available, I guess. Look, no. And so I've been seeing those compilations on YouTube where people just kind of zoom in on a particular expression or add a little reaction image or have the text pop up with the dialogue being like, oh, this is so iconic or whatever. That, and like complementing that with this Hello Kitty short in this video, I think SailorGuardianHope it's just really fun. It's just really infectious, it's really funny and totally me, like, oh, it's me for real type of like relatable moments, which is what this video is really trying to go for with almost adopting, but in a more wholesome way. It seems that, I guess, I was kind of disappointed. One thing about the video is that, like, I didn't get that much of a sense of what the TikTok trend is and what exactly they're obsessed with. I saw 3 examples being popped up on screen, but only one of them was played like in full. And I don't know, I kind of would have wanted a little more of that, like, what is it, and like, here's what the comments are saying on that TikTok, or why is it being viral and stuff like that, specifically. And what she ends up doing in this video, for the most part, again, is that recap. She kind of goes through beat by beat of this entire Hello Kitty short, and it's fun. I think it ends up being more entertaining than, I say, like Lextorias, for example, because of that humor and reacting to a lot of different scenes and stuff like that in a way that's like, it's not just like, well, that was weird. I'm sorry, Lex. It wasn't the most engaging type of content. some people are better at it than others. It's fine. I'm not good at it at all. I've tried a reaction video with trash taste, and it's like, yeah, it's okay. I don't know if I'd be all that good at it really. So I get it's a skill. But like, I think it really worked with like going through and adding those reaction bits, and her like, oh, that's so cute, and it's like, oh, that's where that meme is from, and stuff like that. I think the engagement with the media was really good here. It was just a little disappointing that it was mostly just kind of padded with recap for the most part. But also that like didn't have that as much like emphasis on the TikTok part, and for me at least. Although I do enjoy that she does try to more earnestly engage with the media in terms of why is this resonating with people, and she's connecting it with that like broader thing with like magical girls and raising a young kid and everything, and it's like kind of elevating the value of this children's media as a whole, which I really appreciate. This sort of thing, respect for these sorts of cartoon for these kids anime is really vital, because it's very easy to dismiss it as an adult. Most of us who are talking about it, and most of the kids, they don't give a shit. They're just watching it passively. They're not going to analyze it or understand its value, right? The only people who are going to do that are like teenagers to young adults, people like us, right? Who would this stuff is not being made for. And so but that stuff still needs, I think that stuff still deserves to have that scrutiny, but also that appraisal, like scrutiny in terms of like, this is just for young kids, blah 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 blah. Like, yeah, like who cares? Actually engaging with it on like on a level of like, is this good for kids, right? For example. And I think SailorGuardianHope makes a great point about that. It's just like, this is really great for young kids to see which character they relate to with this given conflict, right? And because everyone experiences this differently. I think she handles it really, really tactfully, and it's again really cute aesthetic and funny, delightful video. I don't know how much not that this is like too sweet or something. It's just that like tacking this aesthetic and this humor and all that with something a little more vast or like information heavy, as these other videos that have gone much more successful for her. I don't know how much I'd be able to engage with those personally. Not that and no knock against them. Please make them if you really enjoy them and they're doing well for you. Obviously, make them. But I just thought that this particular casual, here's the one episode, you can find it on YouTube, let's talk about it. Here's there's a particular trending thing. Let's really dwell on this for a little while. And it was a little more slower paced and casual. And I think she does say that in the video, that she's contrasting these kinds of videos with the more expansive, the things people subscribed for, the things that got really successful, things that people are wanting to see. It's like, I wanted to make this. This is a good thing I was interested in, and I don't know. It was just a good vibe. Just a really good vibe. Yeah, I just really enjoyed it. Really good job. Animator Dormitory channel. I've been following this channel since it started, I think, pretty sure, since Digest. And this is the last year of Ryoko. This is her last video. This is her full she's doing 2 years as a Japanese animator. Every time she's made a video of this, she's been reporting on her earnings and what she did and how she felt about it and her living conditions and stuff. And it's been a really valuable, useful, insightful, it's really interesting series of videos and perspective to be sharing, especially because most of these animators are so busy doing the work, right? I've probably mentioned it in Digest, but it's probably a similar vibe to theater YouTube, where theater YouTube is small for me. I maybe it's because I haven't really actively gone out and looked for people, maybe, but it feels like a vast majority of theater YouTube in particular isn't being done because most of those people who would have that insight are practicing it. They're actually out there doing it, and theater takes a lot of time. It's a lot of rehearsals. It's a lot of active like physical being there and do it. It's time consuming. Takes up a lot of your life. I know this because it was my life for a period of time. And so I imagine that's why a lot of them don't make YouTube videos. It's also kind of hard to visualize without it just being a vlog. The only video YouTubers I follow, most of them really just are just vloggers, right? But so that's why I think it's impressive that this channel really went out, and not only that, but also even just having it being translated in English is really valuable and great. But this is her last video. She decided after these 2 years that she's able to make enough to be able to move out of the dormitory, and she's still apparently going to be involved. She's going to be, present and connected. She's just not doing this style of video of reporting her earnings and everything like that. But I think that just means she is still going to be around, which is really great, which is really encouraging. It doesn't feel like a quitting moment. It just feels like, okay, we've done that. We did that stint. We don't have to do that forever. Now we can move on to other people. They're hoping to form their own studio in 2025. So this year they're starting to really build those credentials and that talent pool. They're going to probably start focusing on some newer faces, maybe. I think it's wonderful. But this has been it's been quite a journey. It's been quite an interesting journey, but it's very encouraging. Yeah, really wanted to share that. I'm happy. Happy I was able to be there for a lot of it. GeeXPlus. It's the company that Gigguk, Trash Taste, Joey and Connor and all them are affiliated with, that allows them to have work visas in Japan. And they decided to focus on Bakashift as Gigguk's editor in a day in his life, basically, because he was there in Japan for a month working on the fall 2022 anime video. And so they were able to come to his, I think he was living with Joey, with Garnt, because it was his, I recognize his studio, I think. But yeah, and him on camera for the first time in like 7 years, which was really, really encouraging. Bakashift was really one of my major influences and reasons I got into YouTube. He was the one I was watching very religiously. He's one that also is the reviews I can directly cite and give personal reasons for the reasons I've watched a lot of my favorite anime. I've watched LGH because of his review. I watched Rose of Versailles because of his review. I watched Princess Tutu because of his review. And a lot of other series became on my radar and would later watch because of his reviews. I think he was really brilliant at it. It's unfortunate that he burnt out the way he did, and he still seems kind of burnt out. The way he talks about editing for anime YouTube, it's sort of like, do this because you have to, or like his first comment is don't, right? And I think that's, it's not totally discouraging, because I think it's coming from someone, it's like Tomino, right? Where and like, how do I become a director? And I think Yoshiyuki Tomino would probably also make the answer, don't do it. Because it's caused them a lot of creative strife or burnout and monotony. It's turning a passion into a job, right? There's plenty of downsides to doing something like that. And it is a warning and a potential danger for those people. It's the same thing with theater, actually, and working with the anime industry at large. Because it's like, you can't really ask to work on certain things. You kind of just get given certain things, and it's like, you're working on this, and that's the task that's in front of you and needs to be done. And that's part of the like, oh, it's not for fun anymore. That's the, oh, it's like compulsory, right? And that could certainly get to you, I think, especially if you're not like, well, no. Thankfully, like, I guess from a comment on that, because it's like, I have a similar, I've been able to work in the industry for a few years now. Thankfully, I've not really hit that point. I'm if anything, I'm at the point where I'm like, please give me more work. I just really, really enjoy working on this stuff. The one thing it's like more unfortunate is just that I really like making videos, and this stuff takes up my time that I could use making videos. But that's anything, right? That's hanging out with real life people, which is important. That's eating and working out, which is important. It's all time consuming stuff that's just, so it's not really a complaint. It's like, I guess for me, I'm just fortunate that I'm just currently in a position where I'm like, yeah, I just want more. I just really like doing this stuff. And I like that GeeXPlus does cut to Mudon and Baka shift. Alan does reference Mudon. He's like, he's just a fucking robot. And he's like, oh, you see, I don't like it. I'm addicted. I must edit videos, right? And yeah, that's kind of a similar thing, right? With theater, they tell you you really should only be acting if you cannot do anything else. It's one of those passions, I think. And I mean, you could probably say that about a lot of professions if you really think about it, because a lot of tasks have to be done in the world. How many people really want to be, I don't want to name any jobs and whatever, in case of like, I do that and I'm cool with it or whatever. But I think you know what I mean, right? It's a lot of stuff that has to be done for humanity to continue evolving and succeeding and thriving and surviving, heck. So it's like someone's got it, it's living, right? But yeah, it was just really fun seeing the banter with Guard coming in unexpectedly. They don't really go too much into the editing process, like the actual video stuff. It was more of a lifestyle type of video where it's like, I eat this sort of stuff. Sometimes I have these funny qualms with Gigic buying this Gunpla, saying, hey, we need this for research for a video. And he's like, Alan, we're not making a Gundam video. Although it's funny, they don't express it, right? Makes me wonder, because I can imagine they got a lot of backlash for, and they still get a lot of backlash, I think, for the Fall of Mecha video. So Gigic probably is avoiding that topic at this point. Maybe it's just a suspicion. But Alan, big Gundam guy. He did. I did catch his live stream with Suin. For them talking about Gundam for the first time in like 6-7 years. Crazy. I just like that Alan is peeking a little bit back into the more into the, I guess spotlight could be a word for it. I don't know. Because again, I always really liked his candor, his humor, his knowledge, perspective. Great. I just loved his shit so much. And yeah, and it's all here. It's kind of like a throwback almost for me. It feels like that, at least. And it's just great to see him doing well. Obviously I knew that's what he's been doing this whole time, but like to see him physically, it's just cool. Yeah, I really enjoyed this video. It was very encouraging. Holy shit. On Gundam, UC-79 Mobile Suit Gundam, and the thumbnail is the thesis, which I feel like the title should be this. I feel like the title should be like why do we still care about Mobile Suit Gundam? I feel like that would be kind of like a flashier semantics. Argonbolt, 3.5 hours. So that's where you were. The dude can crank, because like that's 3.5 hours, and then 2 months he's been doing some other visual novel stuff, and only 7 months ago he was doing 24-minute and other big videos and stuff. His videos have normally been very long. He can just fucking crank, dude. Oh my god. The Revenge of Mecha was 8 episodes worth of 32 plus minutes each. Freaking insane. So this is obviously a very big deal for, kind of a touchstone for him. And he's also talked in this video about doing freaking the same thing for Zeta, Double Zeta, I would imagine Victory, I don't know, and Charged Counterattack, probably, I don't know, because it sounded that he says that the franchise really centers on Char and Amuro, and so it's so then you're not going to talk about Double Zeta and Victory because they're not really in those shows, are they? I haven't seen either of them yet. I apologize. But yeah, I don't know. It's just observation. But wow. So this video is structured kind of in 2 parallel ways. which makes it compelling. I think it's sort of a two different through lines to kind of to hold on to with such a massive video. First, he's going. So before he goes into the actual series proper, he spends, I think, 40 minutes or more, maybe close to an hour. Let me double check. Yeah, about an hour. About an hour of this video. He's talking about the background of Gundam, literally like world history, Japanese history from like the ancient times, all through like Japan's history up to this point, World War II history, like a lot of different like really real world stuff, and then an hour into it, finally getting into Gundam itself and going kind of episode by episode almost. It's not like a full summary of each one, but it's kind of goes into little spurts, like, oh, here's this little mini arc and stuff. But he really combs through the entire show as he's talking about it in different sections that are time-stamped, that kind of go in that nice chronological, that kind of makes some sense. So that's one through line. And then the other through line is the why do we still care, which is these various points, which are more paragraphs than ideas, than just like topics, you know. They're like entire freaking text things. So like I'll tell you my experience with this video, to be perfectly clear. You know, 3.5 hours is a lot for me. It's a lot for anybody, I get it. And instead of watching it in chunks, because just for me it can be kind of hard to do that for me personally. I'm kind of an all or nothing type of person. At least when it comes to YouTube videos, that's just what I'm used to. I'm not the best at like coming back to a video in the same way. Even if it's encouraged, really. That's why it's a lot of action button videos have not been watched on my end, because it's like, no, I know I would want to watch all of it, but I know even though encourages it's 6 hours, I get it, blah blah blah. What was I going with that? Yeah, so my experience with this video, what I decided to do, every Sunday I've been going to my dad's house to do various tasks. I've been doing like so this past week I was scrubbing walls in the basement. We're setting up a workstation for his stuff, and the basement requires us to like, you know, mortar it so that we have to scrub it. And it's a whole task where I'm in a Tyvek suit with a respirator scrubbing for 3 hours. So what do you think I did? What do you think I'm listening to? I could listen to albums and stuff, and I have in the past, but I was just sort of like, especially when I was getting to this point, I was like, oh, I should actually probably do these bi-weekly digests. And I should probably do it. Yeah, I should probably get this one through because I want to talk about this one. It's also because he sent it to me, and it's like I do. Just because he sent it to me doesn't mean I'm going to cover it. But obviously, it's a 3.5 hour Gundam video that, you know, is by a creator that I admire, so I'm going to talk about it. So that's my admission. I didn't watch all of it. I listened to 2/3 of it. I think I ended up, you know, I think it was around Animator section actually, which is convenient because that's when he's talking more about visuals. I think the inventory part around that time. I think the 2 and 15 minute where I moved to watching it. And on one hand, I do regret doing that because the way he makes this video, he is showing a lot of more information than he's saying. Not all for the benefit of the video, to my opinion. It kind of falls into this trope that I have done myself in my videos that I've grown to not necessarily like. It feels kind of intrusive, in my opinion, or distractioning. I don't know, is a distraction. Is having text on screen that is sort of adding to the point, or having a similar point but just worded differently. In his case, and I could tell that this was it. You know, scrubbing through it and then watching physically the whole hour of it. That's what he does for the whole video, and it's like, okay, it's tough because I get that there's probably a lot of added stuff that you're saying and everything. I honestly could follow it and was more engaged with it when I was just listening to it. And not, that's just me. Obviously other people can disagree and whatever, and I know how awful that is when you put that much work into the physical video of it. I'm right there with you with how many, like, I literally kind of lampshade it in my loop on video where I'm like, I'm sure most of you just browsing the internet on another tab instead of watching the video. Like, I know, and I feel like other people do this regardless, and it's just kind of an unspoken thing. A lot of people use this as audio to when they're playing games or doing chores or their work, they're at their job or something, right? A lot of this is, that's how a lot of these videos end up being, and it's discouraging when you put that much work into it and it's not being seen, not even appreciated, but not even seen, right? That sucks. So I totally just want to be upfront about that, because it's sort of, I don't want to be like deceptive about that, right? But I think it's to make that point with the visuals here. They felt very chaotic oftentimes. It did feel like, because it's such a big video and you're kind of just chugging through it, there's a lot of like timing things that feel very like, it was distracting for me to watch, to physically watch. And so I would end up like kind of falling off of what you're saying, or glossing over certain things, because I just keep getting hooked on like, why is he showing this part with like the subs and everything? There's certain, in the last hour of the video, and I'm sure this is obviously not indicative of the 3.5 hour video, but there were some moments where you're talking about a very specific scene where like dialogue referenced and everything, and you're definitely not showing that scene. It's something else. And I know, because you all your footage for Mobile Suit Gundam is hard subbed. And I'm not knocking hard sub, because I did that shit. I 100% did that shit in my Doremi video. Oh god, I couldn't not, because it's like, just because the raws were at the time, I couldn't get it. Whatever. But I get it. Like, and also like, for, it's fine. But when that happens, it's sort of like they're not saying that, and then you're saying that they're saying that, or not like saying this scene here. You're not referencing it directly, but you're just not showing it. I don't know if that was 100%. Like, what scene would give me a time code? I'm sorry, I don't have that. It was a Bright Noah thing. I don't remember the other context otherwise in that last third of the video. I don't know. But like, that's one thing. It's a nitpick compared to the giant amount of work here. I'm sorry I'm like picking this video apart at first, really, because like, I don't know. I'm just sort of overwhelmed by the sheer amount of valuable information. I think you really tackle every last kind of myth about Gundam and annoying thing that people talk about Gundam. It's almost as insufferable as the Eva discourse and all the things that are said about that oftentimes, or just the way that's handled on YouTube, right? I really like that you collaborated with a lot of people in this video, including Conan, who were mutuals as well. And I know he has a lot of really great, and I was Ukrainian Zugak also has tweeted a lot of great valuable stuff about the value of Mobile Suit Gundam's animation. It's not just this jank fucking shit that like so many of the old Taku were just peddling. They're like, oh, look at that dumb Gundam, or how stupid that Zaku's drawn, or whatever. It's like, God, fuck off, right? And I get that. And then, yeah, like all of the stuff with Real Robot, further elaborating on it, because you've definitely talked about that before. I've covered it on Digest as well. But then just like a lot of detail, like a lot of effort and research and combing through all sorts of stuff, literally like alluding to like real history and everything, being very transparent, like letting this stuff talk and be as thorough as possible. It's insanely gargantuan, monumental effort that I think is incredibly admirable and impressive, So I'm really impressed. I think that my favorite section, if I had to choose one, I really like the focus on new types towards the end, and the way that the video ends. It feels very uplifting and like, do I have sort of thing with like that feels like that there's two through lines, and that's, I get why they're both there, but it's sort of, it feels disjointed almost. It doesn't, and that's just my OCD brain. That's just me, I think. Or the way that yeah, I don't know. It just some of the structure and everything. It's just a wave of information, really. But all the information. But again, I think it's your delivery and the actual script and everything is fantastic. And I'm not like completely knocking the video either, because again, it's just a very monumental task, and just the amount of editing and like packed with meaning and stuff that this whole thing has. I think it's really cool. But it's just certain. It is just to the effectiveness of the video for me. I feel that sometimes it like gets in its way almost. It feels a little over ambitious in the visuals particularly, not in the script necessarily. I don't feel like there was anything that was glossed over or like needlessly long or anything like that. Pacing issues. Nah, you kind of just did your thing, and I was on board with pretty much all of it. But that one thing I will say also, that like it irks me in some places, but at the same time, I know that's your thing, and I know that's just, and I think it's all, as long as it's coming from a righteous place, all of your kind of like side quips of like but Argonbolt and like inventing these people, like I'm sure that you reference it in the physical video itself. I don't necessarily remember you doing that in this last third so much, so it makes me think that that might not have been as much of a thing in the first half. Although the first half does have more of this example where it's the straw man. Not to say full straw man as in like this is a bad thing, but just like you're inventing an individual that's jeering or has this particular. And I've done it in my videos. Don't get me wrong. It is a narrative device for video essays. But it was just like, you really have it out for these people, man. And it just kind of got like, it got a little repetitive. That was the only thing that got repetitive for me in this video, was just the constant, that's why it's so stupid, or, and like really taking down all of these things. And look, it's all righteous judgment, and it's like, I think it's all coming from a constructive place, and I don't think there's anything like necessarily actually hostile. It just got a little repetitive and annoying over time, I think. But that's just a small thing, I think. Yeah. Critiques aside, like that shouldn't overshadow how monstrous this video is, and ultimately I think how really from a really good place this is coming from. I really like the angle of why people still care about it. It's not just a generic Gundam review. I think there really is trying to pin a reason for why this show in particular and not other ones. Yeah, I think it's really good. Lastly, the video I certainly have wanted to make, but thankfully don't have to anymore. Sailor Moon has something fishy about it. It's Hayden Loves Anime talking about Goldfish Warning's relation to Sailor Moon. Really major connection. The real reason why Sailor Moon is as successful as an anime as it is, because of its stylistic choices and the staff behind it transferring from this earlier production called Goldfish Warning that never got sent over here. I think something that Hayden may have missed, and again could have been like a just like a dated bit of information that doesn't matter now. But like I think the context to be aware of is this shit was raw. This shit had no subs for years. It literally only just got finished subbing like 2 years ago. Very recently. I know this because like Definitive Anime Chat was like watching it obsessively, waiting for this thing to be subbed, and then they were talking about it as we were watching it. I watched it with them, and they were like, "Yeah, this is from 2005." This first episode, this is when it started getting subs, and it took until like 2019 2020 or something, the year we watched it, literally within a few weeks of it getting finished subs, we started a group watch of it. I think that's how it went. It may have won a group watch, it may have one of the series watches or something, but like it felt like very shortly after it only finished getting subs did we actually watch it. So that lack of access, I think, is something that I don't know if Hayden necessarily made attention to. I think Hayden does bring up the there's other shows that have referenced older shows before as well, like this certain background character or something, and we would have no idea that this was a character if we didn't know that this show existed. So yeah, obviously, like, people watching Sailor Moon and growing up with Sailor Moon have seen these episodes hundreds of times. They probably just saw these plushes fall and at the very obvious goldfish warning reference, and they don't know what it is. They have no idea what goldfish warning is, right? Although it's you know, for as it makes you think, right? If only you knew, if only they knew, right? I feel like goldfish warning could have actually had more of a recognition. It would have gotten subs a hell of a lot quicker if people knew about that connection with Sailor Moon, or maybe that's why I got subs at all. But that wasn't enough. I don't know. But yeah, I think Hayden does a really good job with giving the production history of both Goldfish Warning and Sailor Moon. Full transparency, I voiced Junichi Sato in this video. A lot of lines, quite a few, more than proportion wise with how many that I was given. It's like, well, there's a lot of lines, but I didn't with the proportion of the amount of lines that other people have. Like, I clear the not, this isn't a brag, it's just more of like, oh, I talk more in this than I realized. Is all I'm saying. No, but the other voices that Hayden gets is really great. But yeah, I'd say that, like, all the points that are being made here were points that I would have wanted to be brought up, and I like the actually going through the episodes bit by bit and pointing out each one was neat too. It just felt like this one maybe, and it may have like brought my awareness out to the other videos. I think with the other videos, maybe because you told me about this one beforehand, like when talking on Discord and stuff, and then me seeing the final result, there's something about this video that feels kind of more thrown together and not as much of a deliberate structure. It just felt sort of like you're talking about the next thing and the next thing and the next, you know, and there's some through lines. It doesn't feel like disjointed necessarily, but they really kind of felt like, here's everything I've researched about this topic thrown into one video, right? And sort of like a treasure chest, and you're kind of like picking up each one and like, here's this point I make, here's this point I make. And obviously it's not like a completely destroyed mess in that way. I'm not saying it's a mess at all. I would just think that, like, it ends up not sticking to it doesn't land on a particular point. It doesn't really make like a build to something. I think it just has like, well, that's neat. And that's, look, I like that. Don't get me wrong. I'm a fan of that sort of vid. But I think that could have been why it's not as you know, I don't know, just to build on this other conversation we had earlier about how the video is doing, which, like, look, and I've talked about your vid successes in the past and everything, but like, yeah, I know I did it. I know it's like, I feel that it's annoying. I hear you. It's a great thumbnail too. It's annoying, but it just, yeah. But like, instead of dwelling on that stuff, you know, it's sort of just like, I imagine even the big YouTubers have this exact same thing happen to them, which is like weird, right? You'd think that they wouldn't care about these sorts of things, as they're getting good momentum anyway. But I feel like a lot of YouTubers naturally still care about this stuff, no matter because of their size and everything. This happens all the time, and I imagine the solution to this is just to sort of, and this is something I'm telling you so I can tell myself this, so I can get the fuck over it with my shit too. It's just sort of, okay, that's what that one is. What is the analytics saying? Where are they dropping off? Who's watching the video? What are the comments saying? What can I do in this next video and have that one be good and have kick that one's ass? Look, I'm just saying, maybe it's cool. Look, it's really cool that you masked and cut out the entire Sailor Moon, not the entire one, most of the Sailor Moon transformation sequence at the very beginning of this video. How important was that? But it's cool. And I'm telling you as someone who is doing the exact same effing thing. I did the exact same effing thing. I'm not knocking it. It's more thinking about it. And it's more like, okay, maybe I'm so crushed about this video's performance because I put X amount of work in. And it is because of, okay, why did I put that much work in when I know that this is I should have known this is but I had the hope. I had the feeling that it could do a little better. I know it. God, do I know it. I think it's the struggle of every YouTube video. I just watched a Veracitilium, whatever. 16 million subs or something, like stupid amount of subs, science channel, and he posted a video about rods of God, and it's doing well for performance video. But he talked about in the video, just you're kind of watching this unfold because this is just the footage he has, and it's like it would be a waste to just scrap the video entirely. But he's talking about how much of a failure this whole thing is because like we didn't put the fins on the damn, and it spent all this money on this video, and that's his own kind of work, and he sunk all this effort and money and time into it, and it's also a failure because it didn't get a certain result that he wanted, right? And it's sort of like, man, did I really have to do? So he has to do some kinds of reflection of his own too. So I guess all I'm saying, and I'm sorry I'm dwelling on this point, I guess, instead of talking about the video mainly. I guess the reason I feel like the reason I'm talking about this sort of stuff and not the video mainly is because I'm realizing it's like all the points you're making are great, and I like watching the video on a moment-to-moment basis. But I think because it wasn't building to a particular point, or really giving or maybe it was a point that I already knew, and that's why it's not landing with me or something. I don't know. But like, I don't come away with a particular thing with this video. I come away with like, oh, that's neat. And that's cool. Like, again, don't get me wrong, that's great. But I think it was because there wasn't a like, here's the thesis, here's what I'm trying to prove, or here's the thing that why you should care about it, sort of thing. And look, I have the same issue with, I think a lot of YouTubers have the exact same issue, right? I think what you're having is not new. So I guess I don't know how encouraging that is. Probably not encouraging at all. I'm sorry. But I don't know. It's something to think about, to really give perspective. So I think that the solution ends up being, and it's probably for a lot of creatives. It's probably for a lot of people. I think Argonbolt actually touched upon it with making Mobile Suit Gundam, and even making his own video and everything. His video came out the same day as yours. I actually literally have the two of yours in the digest thing. It came out the same day as yours, and he's been working on it for however long he has been. It's 3.5 hours, and he has about the same amount of views as yours does, right? And again, I don't want to conflate views with success, or his effort to your effort, or whatever. It's not proportional, it's not coordinated, but it's sort of, at the end of the day, it's probably the same feeling. It's probably the same, like, all right, you know, thought I could do a little better. Okay, you know, and I think everyone feels that. And so I guess the solution, I'm sorry if I've repeated this like 4 times. It's probably really insufferable, sorry. Is just get the next one. Let's hit it on that next one. And the thing is also too, I really hope you enjoyed making that video. I really hope that it was a fun video. It's like something you've been wanting to make and excited about, and had fun in the process of making it, right? That's the other really important thing, because it's like, if you it's even worse when it's a video that like tore you up, that like had to keep rewriting, had to scrap a bunch of stuff, spent a bunch of time wasted that you don't even get to see on screen. At least the stuff that you worked on is all on screen. You actually get to appreciate it, and it's really impressive. But like, you know, imagine going through the being pulled through a keyhole with some of this stuff, and then it not doing that well either. Like, right? Next one. And I'm just looking for the next one. I'm really excited for it. I think the quickness that this video came out with, proportionate to the quality of it, with the very high, specific clip selection, really nice art, formatting of everything. The fucking masking job in this, a lot of the different like examples and stuff. Again, I also, for what it's worth, right, while you're not necessarily building to a particular point or really having a climactic, like, here's the aha moment or something, while there's not necessarily, I don't think there's much of a moment like that, you're still getting a ton of great information, and it still feels very valuable and entertaining on a moment to moment. It's still a great video. Still a video that I'm putting at the end of this digest as the one that's like, hey, if you're gonna watch any of these videos, this should be it, guys. This should be the video. Check this video out. Comment on the video too, because Hayden really likes that, and I like it on my videos too. I like it on this digest too. And I know it's like, what do I comment? Look, please, it's not for the algorithm or anything. Yeah, it's kind of for the algorithm, but like, give them some love. Give them some love, please. It's such a good video. And I'm sorry I dwelled so much on the metatextual things. We could have aired it. Didn't have to be on a public video like this. But like, I think this is something that, again, other YouTubers watch this video, right? Watch digest. So it's like, if they've come through a similar experience like this, I'm hoping maybe me talking through it, and me talking through it helps me and helps other people, helps you. Hopefully that was valuable to everyone. Whew. All right, I think I'll do it for this installment of AniTube Digest. Thanks for watching, fellas. Leave a comment. I'm gonna bully people leaving comments now. He's like, you better leave a comment. I should see if this video has 1,000 views, it better have 1,000 comments. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You guys have a great month. Rest of the month, it's February. Happy Valentine's Day when I'm recording this, but I'm not releasing it on Valentine's Day, so it doesn't matter. Yo, peace.